Okay, I'll call you back.
All right, love you.
I love you too.
All right, bye.
Bye. So if I had to describe him, I would say that he's probably the most content person that I've ever met. He's the type of person that will go out of his way to make sure you're okay. And when you talk to him, it feels like you've been talking to a friend that you've known all your life. After talking to him for like the first time, you're just like, dang, that's a friend for life. That's my friend. And he's just the type of person that you know is always going to be there for you. Even when you're talking to him, you don't feel like you're under pressure. You don't feel like you're being judged. And it's just, you guys will be buds for life. And just when I look at him, I just know he's my person and he's the one I'm meant to be with.
All right. So we're gonna start off basically just describe like what you think about.
How would I express or explain Andrew? So when I look at Andrew, he is just so content with himself. He knows exactly what he wants and like that's what he aims for, and he only wants to make himself the best that he can be. I think Andrew is like genuinely like the sweetest person in the world. So when like his mom tells me stories about himself, like him, she just talks about how sweet he was and how perfect he was. And you know, sometimes when moms say that, like they have to say that about their like kid. And but when I look at Andrew and she tells me that, I'm just like, yeah, that's him. I said that's definitely who he is to this day. And I just think he has such a beautiful soul, and I definitely just think he's my person. And that's just who he is to me. So when I think of him, I think about how content of a person he is and how within he is of himself. And when I mean that, like I mean when I talk to him, I feel okay and I feel comfortable.
Oh,
Wow.
ow. That hurt.
Ooh.
How did you and Andrew first meet? That's the real thing. You feel me?
Okay. So everyone probably knows this story. Like I tell this to everybody.
But tell us a billion times. It's beautiful.
This is the legendary story of how Andrew and Perla became Andrew and Perla. I got a message one day on Facebook, right? And like it was from this boy. And I didn't know who this boy was, but like he knew who I was. And he was like, we go to the same school and like I've seen you, and like what was running through my mind at the point, I was like, man, this is probably like a 35-year-old man like trying to kidnap me. And like I just went with it, and I was like, man, I hope this isn't like a 35-year-old man trying to like trick me and kidnap me. And so we were just talking, and then he like knows me, he knows what class I am in, and I'm just sitting here and I'm like, man, who is he? I have no idea who this man is, but here I am still texting him. So long story short, one day during lunch, I got my tray and I was going to the table that I usually sat with all my friends in middle school. And then all of a sudden, I hear someone scream, Perla! And I'm like, what the So then I just see this, like, little white boy, like, had, like, this bald cut, and he's just, like, biggest smile on his face. And I'm like, I still don't know who this man is. And then, like, I asked this guy I was sitting next to, and I'm like, who is that? And he's like, I think his name's Andrew Branham. And I'm like, I've been talking to him. And then the rest is history. Like, I've been friends.
What was your first impressions like when you saw his little bald head?
What I was like, all right, he seems cool. Like, he doesn't seem like someone that's gonna annoy me, or like, I was like, he just seems like he'd be a funny little dude. Like, I'm kind of taller than him at this point. I mean, I'm a short girl. I've always been a short girl, but like at this point, I was kind of like taller than him, and I was like, all right, like I think this friendship could work. My first impression of him is that he was goofy, like goofy. Goofy looking, goofy acting. He's still goofy. It's like best memorable was probably the day we reunite. the day we reunited, I actually remember the dates. Like, it was in July. I don't want to say I don't want to say the wrong date or anything, but it was at the beginning of July, and we were actually going to our friend Adam's graduation, like the open house. And I don't know, like, the night before, he was still in Florida at this point because he was away on vacation. So the night before, we were just FaceTiming each other. And I don't know what really initiated, like, us FaceTiming, because for the longest time, we weren't talking, but it was just because we were growing up. He was going to college, I was going to college. We were going our own separate ways in life. So just one day, he just FaceTimes me, and we're just talking, and it's like we never stopped talking. Like, we were just synced in again. And I don't know, we just started FaceTiming, and I'm like, hey, are you going to Adam's graduation or open house? And he's like, no. He's like, but I got invited. I'm like, do you want to go? And then all of a sudden, we're like, yeah. So we made plans. The very next day, he flew in from Florida and, like, dropped his stuff off and came straight to my house and picked me up. And then we went to graduation, to the open house, and I don't know. It's just like we never stopped being friends. It wasn't, like, awkward. It was just nice. It was just like I was living in the moment as I was in middle school.
When we reunited, I automatically felt we had a connection, surpassing our friendship. I knew it too. Like, I picked you up and I was like, okay, step 1 complete. Step 2, talking, catching up in the car. We were out at Adams. I think next thing I did was hold your hand.
You did hold my hand.
Step 2 complete. Actually, no. That's step 2 was in the car. That's complete. Step 3 complete. And then we're booing stuff. And then
You held my hand in the car.
And then
When we first started talking, oh man, I was so in love. I was so in love without actually letting him know I was in love. But yeah, it was just laughing giggles. We just were having so much fun. And then one day I go to the mall with my mom, and it's like a couple weeks from school starting.
Yeah.
And I did not want this day to come. But I just worked up the nerves, and I'm like, Andrew, like, what do you want to do when you go back to school? Like, are we going to stay together? Or are we going to... Because at this point, we weren't even actually boyfriend and girlfriend.
Yeah,
We were just talking. Yeah, we were just talking. And I'm like, we can stop talking. And I was super understanding about it. I was like, I get you're going away to college. Like, I get it. I was like, and I think secretly, I was, like, willing to wait for him. I don't know. Like, so many things were running in my mind. And, he was like, no. He's like, I want to keep talking to you. Like, this is not going to happen again. And so I guess, like, in his mind, I just think that him giving up so much at that moment, just saying, like, no, I want you to be my girlfriend, knowing I'm, like, an hour away, meant a lot to me. And, yeah, it was, like, the best decision I've made. Okay, I'll call you back.
All right, love you.
I love you, too.
All right, bye.
Bye.
I believe there's no one in your place. So much lovely, you can cure my mistake. You reside in me, no room for escape. You're part of me. You're part of me. You're part of me. You're part of me. Come again and see. Come again and see. You're part of me. You're part of me. Your diamonds make you sparkle. Your diamonds make you sparkle. Your diamonds
hurt.
Ooh.